I never sought out the two-tone nibs in the past, but out of nowhere I found myself wanting one. What are some good options for two-tone nibs? Do you prefer one with a silver clip or a gold clip? So the best thing that you can do if you're interested in two-tone nibs, we actually have this as a filter feature on the sidebar on our site. So if you go to the main like fountain pens page where we list all of our fountain pens, you can scroll down on the side and click two-tone under nib color, and it'll show you every pen with a two-tone nib color option. So that's pretty cool, right? But I'll show you some here just because I want to talk about some of my favorite ones. I personally actually really like two-tone nibs, and they are some of the most popular ones around here. Like, you know, nibs like we have the Goulet nibs. We have polished steel, which is all silver color. We have the two-tone, which is stainless steel, but it's got a gold plating on part of it, so it gives a two-tone look. And then we got the black nibs as well. The two-tone are the most popular of the three. So I think people like the two-tone look. I think that's generally somewhat popular, and I think that especially for, you know, something like that where you can swap the nibs out, it's very versatile. So you can use it on a pen with gold trim or a pen with, you know, rhodium trim or something like that. So I think it's very versatile, and the look is generally pretty appealing. Me personally, I've always kind of been into the two-tone look. I haven't been adorning myself with two-tone jewelry or anything like that very recently at all, but I definitely have some like watches and stuff like that I've had in the past that have had the two-tone look. I've always found that to be somewhat appealing. I don't know, I just kind of like the two-tone thing. You know, so when it comes to nibs, I find myself really finding that appealing as well. I don't know if it just gives more dynamic, you know, coloration to the nib, or it just gives it more depth. I can't really explain it, but I do kind of like it. And definitely some of like the fancier pens that you see out there, I think two-tone kind of starts to become more of a thing. It is a little more complicated of a procedure. Like even for us, we don't charge you anymore for a two-tone Goulet nib, but it does cost us more because that process is more laborsome. So you know, it's an additional step in the process. You think about, you know, a nib like this that has, you know, polished stuff on it. They basically have to like mask off the gold, you know, the part that's going to be silver, and then they plate the gold. So it's extra steps and things like that. So I think in general, when cost savings are involved, you typically don't see two-tone, but that's not necessarily always the case, and I'll show you that in a second. But some of the ones that I find are pretty good. I'll try and give you a range of some different ones. So let me zoom in a little bit. And one of the first ones that is an option for you here is actually Janelle. Has a pretty decent looking two-tone nib. So this is only on their gold trim. All their silver trim ones are just regular steel color, but they have a half decent looking two-tone nib. So let me see if I can really get in here for you. So the pen's only $10. This is the X, which one is this, the 450? No, this thing, yeah, this is 450. And the 752, you can get that with the one that has gold trim. Does it. So it's nice. It's got this nice little, you know, kind of, not a border, but this nice little pattern in there kind of towards the edge that's a silver tone. So not bad for an inexpensive pen. Let me show you a close up of the Goulet nib here. So any pen with a number 6 size nib, you can usually swap it out with a Goulet. And you get a two-tone because of the edge here in the front. These are made by Jovo in Germany, but also the etching on here. This is a laser engraved etching here. That kind of etches away the gold and gives it more of a two-tone pattern as well. And then, you know, another option here, this is again another Jovo nib, so the design is going to be very similar, but Edison. So Edison is going to be the same kind of thing. And there's a number of companies out there that use Jovo, and so you'll see similar designs to their nibs with two-tone like this. Let's see here, what else have I got? Pelikan. So if you get into the Pelikan, not the M200, this is an M200, and if you use one with gold trim, you're going to find that the nib is all gold because they're stainless steel ones. They just plate the whole nib. So not those ones, but if you get into the higher end ones, like the 400 and above, every nib is actually a different size on the 400, 600, 800, 1000. This is an M800, but you can see that nice pattern. I really like Pelikan's nib. They do a really good design with the nib and the two-tone look on there, so I find that to be really appealing. I love the bird. That's a nice design. And let's see here, what else? Namiki. Now this is quite a high-end pen, but if you get into any of their you know, Mach-E pens, you're going to get this Namiki design that's got a two-tone with the mountain in there. And so that's really kind of goes Mount Fuji, and so you can see the mountain is that two-tone thing. So that's pretty cool. And then Visconti. the Homo Sapiens. Now, if you get the Bronze Age, this is the nib you're going to get. There's some other pens they had that have it, and this is kind of cool. It's really hard to tell the two-tone in the light here, but basically the border is gold, and then the background of this pattern here is kind of that silver color, but then all of the flourishing on the inside is all gold. So really nice. This is one of my favorite looking nibs here. They do a really good job. Pelikan does a good job. I've seen Mont Blanc has a number of really nice looking two-tone nibs. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of good options there. And you're asking me specifically if I like it better with gold trim or with steel trim or with the silver trim. I honestly can't tell you a lot of pens that I know that have silver trim that have a two-tone nib as the default option. I think most pen makers, when they're designing their pens, they tend to put the two-tone nibs on gold trim pens only. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head that I know does it differently, but I honestly can't. So, that I kind of align with that, actually. I kind of probably fall more into the majority on that one. I really like the look of gold trim with two-tone. I find that if you have two-tone nib, and that's the only gold on the entire pen, I don't really find that as appealing. I don't know why. It doesn't really make any sense, but I think just because the trim on the pen, if it's all silver, it just has kind of a much cooler overall look, as opposed to a warm color like the yellow gold. If you have a cooler look to the whole pen and then the nib is warm looking, that yellow gold, I think it just kind of sticks out a little bit more. It draws a lot of attention to the nib. Whereas when you have, I don't know, the logic doesn't really make a lot of sense, I guess, but I just kind of like it that way. So, I don't know, that's just my thing.